Hello everyone, welcome back to our video. First of all, let me to introduce myself and my partner. I am Adi Firdaus and my partner is Rohmana. In this video, we are going to discuss about clauses. So let's enjoy this video. Well, today we are going to discuss about the first is definition of clause and the second is types of clause. So the first explanation will be explained by me, and let's get started. We start with definition of clause. Clause is comparison of a group of words which includes a subject and a finite verb. For example, I graduated last year. And another example, when I came here, I saw him. Clause contains only one subject and one verb. The subject of a clause can be mentioned or hidden, but the verb must be apparent and distinguishable. And then next is about types of clause. The first types of clause is independent clause. Independent clause is a clause that can stand alone into a sentence. Sentences that are produced by independent clause are called simple sentence, but an independent clause can also be combined with other independent clause that will produce a compound sentence. So, if you want to combine two independent clauses, then you have to insert the words below between the two clauses. First, you have to insert coordinate conjunction such as for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Or you have to insert semicolon or adverbial conjunction like however, rather, therefore. Well, that's all for me. And the next explanation will be explained by my partner for Yoga Rohmana. Now, your time, please.
Okay, for the next, I would like to explain about the dependent clause. The first, we have to know what is dependent clause. Dependent clause is a clause that contains a subject and verb, but it doesn't express a complete thought. In other words, a dependent clause cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. Dependent clause should be combined with independent clause to make a complete sentence. Usually, dependent clause begin with words such as after, although, because, before, if, since, that, until, what, when, where, who, which, and why. The second is types of dependent clause. Dependent clauses can function either as the first as a noun clause, second as adjective clause, and third as adverbial clause. The first type is noun clause. What is noun clause? Noun clause is a dependent clause that works as a noun. It can be the subject of a sentence, an object, or a complement. Noun clauses usually begin with words called relative pronouns such as who, that, what, whatever, when, where, which, and why. There are 5 functions of noun clause. The first function is the noun clause being a subject. Noun clauses can function as subject of sentence. Example: what Ava did shock her parents. You can see the word underlined word. And then the second is direct object. Noun clause can also function as direct objects, the verb in the independent clause. For example, I don't know where Isabel is. Next, the third function is indirect object. Noun clause can also act as indirect object of the verb in independent clause. For example, Come out of there, whoever you are. The fourth function is object of preposition. Noun clause can act as object of preposition of the verb in the dependent clause. For example, Billy spends money for whatever she wants. You can see the underlined word and the bold word, the red word. And the last function is subject complement. Noun clause can also act as a subject complement of the verb in the independent clause. For example, Billy is who is eating a meatball. The underlined word who is eating a meatball is a subject complement. Okay, the second type is adjective clause. Adjective clause or relative clauses are a type of dependent clause that act as adjective. Here there are rules to know the adjective clause. Subject plus relative pronoun plus adjective. Relative pronoun like who, whom, which, whose, that, and when. For example, the girl who lives in Chicago is beautiful. The man whom I saw yesterday is rich. Billy has a friend whose brother lives in Amsterdam. The next type is adverbial clause. What is adverbial clause? Adverbial clause is a group of words that work of an adverb. Then an adverbial clause contains a subject and verb to be complete. An adverbial clause also begins with a subordinating conjunction, such as after, if, because, and although. For example, the day felt long because we had nothing to do. The underlined word indicate that is a adverbial clause. He remembered after he left the house that he needed to mail the thank you cards. You need to remain calm even if everyone else panics. Although you gave it your best effort, you did not to win the match. Okay, that's all the material about the clauses. If you have any question, you can write down in the comment. And then the last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.